H-Town, what it do? Welcome to the Twin Toros podcast. I'm Nick Stevenson, the president of Houston Sports. He is Ruben Calvillo, Mr. 713. Thank you guys so much for joining Sweet episode number 16. Couple of things first. Happy Election Day. Hope everybody got a chance to fulfill their civic duty. I want to remind you that no matter who wins this election, we should all be thankful that we got to be a part of the process. We got to stop seeing people who see differently from us as enemies. Ruben, I'm positive you and I probably vote on a different spectrum, but I really don't care. You're my family, bro. I love you, and we got so many more things in common than who you did or didn't vote for, namely our love for the Houston Texans. Now, Ruben, I would say happy trade line day. The Texans did make a big trade, man. They traded Khalil Davis to the 49ers for a 2026 7th round pick. How you feeling about that one, bud?
It's whatever. I was a big fan, am still a big fan of Khalil Davis. If you remember how he got here, won a championship with the USFL and immediately signed to the practice squad. Just a couple of days later, made a name for himself in training camp last year. Throughout the season, had some plays for you this year, and was shocking. Did not expect to see Khalil Davis gone. This trade deadline is for a 7th round pick. What the hell is a 7th round pick going to do for me in 2026? Absolutely nothing. This trade deadline, it just was a disaster. And what's sad is I knew it was going to be like this. I'm not surprised that the Houston Texans did not make a trade, but goddamn, man, it.
Get it out, buddy.
Go ahead, dude.
Get it out, buddy. No, I knew I was gonna say happy trade line day, but I know you're not happy. So I want to let you get it out, man. Before we break down all the reasons that this more than likely happened. And you know me, man. I'm gonna try to put a silver lining on it for you. But before I do that, I understand how it feels when you're in a certain mood. You want to go ahead and let it out. So I think you should let it out, man. Let the people know how you're feeling.
Well, we heard earlier throughout the week, and shout out to Locked On Texans, John Hickman put it out that the Texans are 100% trying to upgrade their interior of their offensive line. Great job. Then we hear John Alexander just a couple of hours later. The Houston Texans are not expected to make a trade. This is where I started having the realization that maybe a move is not going to happen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before you flood the comments and say, how likely is it that a team will be willing to, let go of a, starting capable offensive lineman? I completely understand that. I completely understand that it's very rare, but don't tell me it's impossible when I just saw the Jacksonville Jaguars trade their left tackle away just a couple of weeks ago, Cam Robinson, to the Minnesota Vikings. Every single team that is in playoff position right now made a move. We just saw what DeAndre Hopkins did with the Chiefs. We're about to meet Zadarius Smith in a Lions uniform in just a couple of days, and the Houston Texans did absolutely nothing. The Ravens, who you were about to go play, they got Deontay Johnson, and the Houston Texans did absolutely nothing. How? Why? CJ Stroud is running for his life every single week for the past 3 weeks. This offensive line has gotten worse. There is no way this offensive line gets better. They don't care. They've showed you that. Every week we hear an excuse. Oh, it's just a couple of bad plays. Oh, we got to get it together. We got to communicate. We got to work better in practice. This unit sucks, and they are going to get CJ Stroud killed. He was sacked 8 times last week by the New York Jets. We have known that this O-line was a problem 4 weeks into the season, and nothing has been done. Nothing was done. And, of course, you brought in some practice squad guys, right? They're just trying to throw shit on the wall and hope that it sticks. But, man, this is just disappointing. It's disappointing because we've seen this story before. We saw David Carr get murdered. We saw Watson get murdered. And now we are seeing CJ Stroud get murdered.
And I sense your frustration. And in many ways, I understand your frustration. Because you're right. We have been talking for quite some time about how the offensive line has not been good. I do also recall you saying a few times, though, that you didn't think it was going to be fixed this season. You also just recently said you're not surprised that the Texans didn't do anything. Are you not surprised because you think that's just the way the Texans do business, or are you not surprised because you don't think it was as simple as just, hey, let me go get another guy?
More of the second part. Like I said, it's very hard to go get a starting offensive lineman off the team of someone else, but it's not impossible. The situation is, it's dire right now. Alarms should be ringing in the back of NRG that there is a problem. CJ Stroud does not trust his offensive line, and it's starting to affect him, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
He is struggling behind this offensive line. And the fact that you made no moves told me that it's okay by your eyes, that you are fine with putting CJ Stroud behind that offensive line. You are fine with not making any moves, trying to get better. We heard last night they weren't going to make any moves. Did you even try today? Now, maybe Nick Caserio did, right? I don't know. I don't know what's behind the doors.
Right.
But the fact that I have CJ Stroud going up against the Detroit Lions, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, in the upcoming weeks, all those teams made a move. I know what this offensive line can't do, and that is pass protect. They cannot win their one-on-one matches. Don't run a stunt on them because they can't see it coming, even if they know it's coming.
All right, Ruben. Let me ask you this, and then I'm going to start chiming in on how I feel about their lack of movement especially on the offensive line, but period. I think some people wanted them to trade for a receiver because of Diggs being out for the season.
Even that's fine too. Like, don't tell me that you couldn't get better anywhere else.
So this is the one question I want to ask. As far as the offensive line, I think you and I can both agree the offensive line has been more than just one person's fault. Facts. Yes, Kendrick Green has been terrible, but the line as a whole, as a unit, has not been good. Realistically, was there any move that the Texans could have made before this trade deadline expired that would have made this offensive line ostensibly better to the point where all of a sudden CJ trusts them and all of a sudden he's got time in the pocket and he doesn't have happy feet anymore? Do you really think that move was out there?
I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I do know that any move would have been better because even if you take 5-6% off those pressures, maybe CJ Stroud is able to connect on some passes. Maybe a play is able to have a little bit more time to develop. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is what we got for the remainder of the season, man, it kind of feels like they waved the white flag on this offensive line. Now, it's understandable, right? It's kind of hard to be upset that you didn't make a move, but it is because you did do your job in the offseason.
You're feeling it, right? I get what you're saying.
Bro, this is like realizing your girlfriend's mid. And you're 5-6 years into a relationship and you're like, damn, I've wasted my time. Damn, like this is not it. And I have to be here for a foreseeable future.
Oh man.
Until an ugly breakup has to happen. Because we were like, oh, they haven't played one game together. They're going to get it together.
Ruben,
if we saw an offensive line with no Tunsil, no Titus, no Juice, no Kenyon put up 0 sacks against TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, then I could expect this.
Now you're thinking about your ex, bro. Stop thinking about your ex.
I have the girl. I have it right here. I just realized that it's mid.
And you know what?
We can do.
You're in that situation, man. Yeah, you're disappointed in the immediate realization that in your analogy, your girlfriend is mid, but you're still gonna love her. And I'm glad you brought up Jonathan.
That looks fading.
I'm glad you brought up Jonathan Alexander though, because he did put out this article yesterday about how the Texans were not likely or not expected to make a move at the deadline. And I thought he did a really good job of breaking down why. The Texans don't have cap space. They just don't. I think they've got $5.4 million is what he stated in that article. I believe there's only 10 teams with more cap space than them, or less cap space than them.
You kept Robert Woods instead of Noah Brown, and Robert Woods cost you $5 million more. And what is Noah
don't
Brown doing?
I don't
The wide
disagree.
receiver 3 with the Washington Commanders.
No, I don't disagree with that 100%. I
You
was actually
extended Jimmy
disappointed.
Ward, and what has he done for you this year? Nothing.
Yeah, I was disappointed that they didn't stash Noah Brown on IR. But at the same time, we've been talking about how stacked this wide receiver room is. So at the same time, we can't say that before the move happened and then in hindsight be like, oh, well, you should have kept Noah Brown. I was surprised they didn't stash Noah Brown on IR rather than, I know everybody loves John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson's made some big plays. I was a little bit surprised. Like, Noah Brown is somebody who made a lot of plays for you last season, but that's not really here nor there. What their cap situation is, it is because all the big moves you wanted them to make at this deadline, Ruben, they made them in the offseason. And that's why they didn't have a lot of room to make those moves.
All that. I understand that. But it's not like he's getting sacked 3 to 4 times a game. He got sacked 8 times. Every single week is a career high in pressure rate. You have a guy in year 2, like the situation is much more dire than what everyone, is thinking. It should be ringing inside of your head that our quarterback, right, he is scared back there. It is affecting him, and it's going to keep going that way because you decided not to do anything this trade deadline. You haven't even decided to fire your offensive line coach. You don't even want to take accountability. None of these guys want to do.
Okay.
Which was why I was saying it is rare for a trade, for a lineman, but it needs to happen because it's the Lions are going to come in. Our offensive line is going to get abused.
It's possible. This is what I will say, man.
What do you mean it's possible? It's happening every week.
No, of course. This is what I'm going to say. Because a lot of people are unhappy with a lot of the answers that DeMeco Ryans has given, a lot of the answers that Nick Caserio has given. Let me just put it to you this way. So if Nick Caserio comes out, and I'm sure this will never happen, if he comes out and says, you know what, I didn't even pick up the phone. We're good with what we got. Okay, that's a problem. It's possible, like you said, maybe he did pick up the phone and just nothing materialized. They are hamstrung financially. You're going to have to convince a team not just to give up a good offensive player, but probably have to convince that team, can you pay this player's salary also? Because we can't afford to do it. Jonathan mentioned in that article, you brought on Stephon Diggs. That was your big move. Unfortunately, he's hurt for the season. Even though he's a free agent next year, he still counts as $16 million against your cap. Like, you cannot panic and make a move that's going to mortgage the rest of your future as well. So while I understand your frustration, here's what I do know, and this is what you're banking on. Number one, DeMeco Ryans is not going to come out here and tell the fans all the things that they're saying. Yeah, we suck. We should give up. Nobody on this team's any good. We should have prayed for another. I don't think he's telling you that it's good. I'll give you his exact quote. Somebody asked him. No. Somebody asked him about the Texans' issues. This is what he said. He said, that's the encouraging part about it going forward, is they're all fixable. Still a little frustration, but at the end of the day, in this league, there are a lot of ups and downs. But it's how strong is your foundation that allows you to withstand a little wind, a little waves that comes at you. It's about being steady. That's where I want our team focused. We don't sulk. We don't hold our heads down. We press forward. Those are the exact words I know for a fact that DeMeco Ryans would have said if he was still in uniform. If he was in the middle of that huddle, he would have said the same thing. When you're looking to a head coach as a leader, how are you going to convince these men that they're worth a damn if their coach gives up on them 9 weeks into the season, 10 weeks into the season? Like, right now, the roster is what it is. He can't say anything other than what he's saying. He's got to get better out of what he's got. This is what you're banking on. Number one, when Patterson came in, you saw it yourself. Patterson was a significant upgrade over Kenyon Green. Unfortunately, he got a concussion. I don't know if he's going to be out 1 week, 2 weeks. I think Kendrick Green last week against the Jets, he was up and down. He had some good moments. He had some bad moments. Now, you brought up the coaching. That's the part I think we have to look at. Right now, you have professional football players who are NFL football players. They are good enough to get the job done. They have the talent to get the job done. Are you coaching them to get the job done? And that's where my question mark is with this team, because you brought up all the people we saw protect CJ Stroud last year who were backups. Okay, so at least on paper, You have a significantly more talented group that's supposed to be protecting CJ Stroud right now. And we've talked about Bobby Sloak. We've talked about, I keep forgetting the offensive line coach's name. And that's probably, yes, Strausser. That's probably why he should be fired, because nobody even knows who he is. He's not doing anything to make us bring up his name at least in a positive light. But that's where the fix is. They're gonna have the team we got is the team we got. Even if you went and got another guy, that's not fixing this whole unit. They have to play better. They've got to be coached better. They got to scheme better. And that's the part that I think we should be focusing on. But here's the thing, man. I understand your frustration, but when you say this is dire and alarm should be going off, that's the part obviously you don't want to get CJ Stroud hurt. So yes,
Bro,
I'm not saying they don't have to play better.
So
100%. But you're in the
alarms are not going off in the back of your minds that this dude is getting sacked almost 45 to 50% of his dropbacks. You know, the league average is 43%. And it's happened the last 3 weeks during the easy part of our schedule. Now you go against the playoff teams. Now you go against the great quarterbacks, the great coaches. Are you going to tell me that you're not the least bit concerned?
I'm 100% concerned, Ruben. One player wasn't going to fix that. You could have brought in 2 guys. It wasn't going to fix it.
I agree. But you know what making a change says? That this is not okay. That something had to happen. And the fact that nothing happened.
Unfortunately, the change got made for you when Kendrick Green got hurt.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If he didn't get hurt, does he get benched that game?
Yes.
No.
He got benched before he got hurt.
How did he get benched before
he got benched
hurt?
The game before for Patterson.
And what happened?
Patterson got a concussion.
Right back in against the New York Jets.
Because Patterson had a concussion. Now, they should have put Kendrick Green in.
Was it Kendrick Green ready to go?
Like I said, he had an up and down game.
So what are we doing?
No, I understand.
We know that Kenyon Green was that bad against the Indianapolis Colts, and now you're going up against Quinnen Williams. He got benched in the first quarter, and you want to throw him back out there?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, Nick.
You're asking me.
I'm asking you.
No, I would not have put. We talked about that on the watch along. I would not have put Kenyon Green back in 100%. But that's what I'm. But my point is you're asking the coaching staff who made that decision, hey, get a new guy, put him in, and that's magically gonna fix this? No, like
it's. I didn't say it was magically gonna fix it, bro.
Yeah, like
you're twisting my words. I literally said just a couple of minutes ago, even 5% less of pressure makes a significant amount of difference. Am I expecting these guys, if they made a trade, to have 0 sack performances?
Yeah.
No, but this is the worst pass protecting offensive line in the NFL. They have the highest paid offensive line in the NFL. This is an issue. It's not going to get better. It's getting worse every single week, and the stats are there to back it up.
I don't disagree with you, Ruben. Let me ask you a question. If Patterson is healthy, do you think he's good enough to give you that 5% better?
I hope so. He showed me in that one drive he could do it.
Okay. Like I said, Kendrick Green, up and down, it's pretty difficult when you're getting pulled in and out of the game for somebody who's consistently shown you that he's not good. He was
crying on the sideline last week, and then his excuse this week for playing was, I got to knock the rust off. Okay, get out of here.
I mean, I'll give him this. It's pretty hard to be consistent when you're not getting consistent snaps. Like, this offensive line has got to figure out a combination of somebody that works and then stick to it, obviously, as long as they're healthy. But me and you thought that Kendrick Green should have started against the Jets. We were on the same page there, and I still believe that. So I don't know if Patterson is going to be out of concussion protocol this week or not, but obviously Kenyon Green's not going to be there. This team is not passing the eye test. It's not passing the expectation that everyone had for them at the beginning of this season. And you and I have debated whether or not we should have had that expectation. And you know what? I give you 100% credit. When you say that the Texans put that expectation on themselves by the moves that they made in the offseason, I will hand you that. I think that's a fair argument to make when you're criticizing this team about not being what we view right now as Super Bowl contenders. I guess me, Ruben, maybe it's just because I'm an old head, bro. I'm just a little bit more patient in the situation.
No, you're fine with letting our quarterback get murdered back
No,
there.
I'm
man.
not fine with that at all. But what I'm saying is you have to, like, they have to get better. It's going to
They're
take
not,
some
though,
time to
Nick.
get better.
They're
It's
not.
we're 10 weeks in, man. Like,
Brother, they're getting worse. You want to see the pressure rate per week? Give me 1 second. I got it
no,
for you.
go for it, bro.
I'll
Go
bring
for
it up
It's fine.
because it's not getting better, bro. Tell me I'm lying.
I'm not saying that you're lying. All I'm saying is there was no personnel move that's going to fix that. It's the coaching. The coaching has got to fix it.
And
You
they
think
don't
none
wanna
of these
get rid of
guys
the
are good
coach.
enough to play offensive line in the NFL?
Huh?
You think that none of these guys are good enough to play offensive line in the NFL?
I didn't say that.
No,
dude.
I'm asking. I know you didn't say that. I'm asking you.
So why are you asking a question that I didn't even say?
I'm asking you because I want you to answer
Well,
it.
obviously these are NFL guards, NFL tackles.
Okay.
But they suck.
Right. So who's that on? Them or the coaching?
Both of them.
Okay. So which one can change? Which one?
Bro, dude, we already talked about firing Chris Chaucer 3 weeks ago. It's not happening.
It's not just firing, but like also be better at coaching, make a better scheme. That's all
He's
I'm
never
talking
been in
about.
this scheme before. And whose fault is that?
100%. Listen, we're on the same page there. So, but what I'm saying is if the Texans, this is your choice. You're either going to say, hey, what the Texans have has to be better, or you just say, I know the team's 6-3. I know they're winning their division, but this season's it's a loss. Like those are our options right now, right? For me, I think it's so easy to get caught up in the moment, but I just want to remind people, man, like we are in year 2 of this rebuild, of this experiment, of the tenure of DeMeco Ryans. And I understand, man, like when we saw everything they did in the offseason, when we looked at what they did last season, we were ready to take a giant leap forward. And they still could, man. They're on pace to win more games than they did last season. Like the way they looked last week, is that going to get it done? Hell no. But that doesn't mean that the team that we saw last week and the week prior is the team that's going to be here in week 18. It has no choice but to get better. If it doesn't, then everybody's on the chopping block at the end of the season. Because if they don't make the playoffs, which I still think they will, but if you don't win more than one playoff game, this season's a failure.
Because this AFC South division is absolute garbage.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. They're probably going to make the playoffs, but right now
is you might find yourself getting bounced in the second round again.
Right.
And it's going to be because
or maybe the first round. If they play the way they play right now, they might get bounced in the first round. And if that happens, Ruben, then this season is a failure and everybody should be examined and there should be a lot of people on the chopping block. But we can't determine that in week 10, man. I know it's not been good over the last couple of weeks, but like we have to kind of back up a little bit and still look at that big picture. That's all I'm saying, man.
So what
like,
big picture are you looking at?
I'm looking at the big picture that this team is in year 2 of DeMeco Ryans.
But here's the
they
thing,
improved by 8 games last season. They are, go ahead.
You talk about year 2 of DeMeco. We have Daniil under a 2-year deal. We have Joe Mixon on a 3-year deal. There's no more. Dude, our increment, our window is
the next 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Right. And right now you're 6-3. You're on pace to win more games than you did last season. Hopefully you get better than you are right now and maybe you win 2 playoff games. Like that would be an improvement. That would be the arrow pointing up. That's all I'm saying. Like last week you said that it was AFC championship game or bust. The Texans have never even been past the divisional round. They haven't. Like they've won a wild card game 5 times. They've never done anything close to get to an AFC championship game. So for me, if they can win 2 playoff games this year, good for you. You're headed in the right direction. And in the offseason, figure out something about this offensive line, whether it's coaching, offensive coordinator, the O-line coach, something. But like, and the offensive line coach, I think can and should be done in the middle of the season. When's our bye week? After week 14? Oh, that is such a
That's 4
long way.
weeks from now,
That's such a long way away.
This is what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
You say it's only 9 weeks, but we only have 17 weeks, bro. We're more than halfway done.
No, I get you.
With the season, and it's what we have, bro. That they suck. They cannot protect him to save his life.
We are in agreement there. Where we're probably in disagreement is that making one move for one offensive lineman was going to fix that. If they don't fix the scheme, the coaching, whatever, if they don't coach up the guys they have, then this season is probably doomed. But I'm not going to go there yet in week 10. That's all I'm saying. Now, they have a huge test coming up in the game against the Lions. And like I said, what you hope is that either Patterson, Kendrick, they give you that 5%, 6%, whatever it is that you need to be at least just a little bit better. You hope they get ostensibly better, but you're just hoping for better than Kenyon Green, which that's a very low bar to set. You're hoping that CJ Stroud has not become such so gun shy and with such happy feet that he starts being a little bit more accurate in the few times that he does have time to throw. Because you mentioned it, it's starting to get to him. Even in the moments where he's not pressured, he's still missing throws. So these are all things that I don't want you to say, Nick, that I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I'm just not hitting the fire alarm panic button.
And I'm not sure why, dude.
Because it's week 10, you're 6-3.
And he's the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL.
That's terrible. Protect him better. Don't get
Nick.
Protect. It wasn't going to be a trade, Ruben. They have no choice but the people. Find somebody on this team.
If he's practice squad, one trade, this offensive line would not have got 1%, 2%.
No,
better.
They probably would have. But also, once again, we talked about the reasons where they likely did not make a trade. Now, once again, neither of us were in that room. Did they try? Did it just not work out? I don't know. And I told you, it would be egregious if they just didn't even pick up the phone and said, hey, what we got is what we got. That's fine. If somehow we were able to find out that that's what happened, then yeah, somebody should seriously, I don't want to say get fired, but then there's going to be some serious criticism that should go their way that they absolutely deserve. But what I'm saying is what you have is what you have. It's either going to get better or this is going to be one of the most disappointing seasons in Texans history. Those are the options that we have. I'm at this moment going to choose to reserve judgment before I say that this entire thing is a failure. Let's see what it looks like at the end of the season. Let's see what it looks like when you get into a playoff situation. When you get to the playoffs, are you a playoff caliber team? Are you in a situation where you've learned to better protect CJ? Have you figured out a way to get this offense going? Because the defense has been playing really, really well. But the defense is in a situation right now that because of this offense, they have to be perfect.
It's just a letdown, bro. But
I got you.
Man.
Look, man, you have this passion because this is what I tell people, and you don't understand this yet, Ruben, because you're still a young blood. It's like when your kids disappoint you, bro.
I'm sorry about this old head. Okay, look, here's what you don't understand.
Your kids
you don't understand.
Let me finish though. When you
have something generational, when you have something that is franchise changing, you cannot put it at risk. And
1,000%.
The Texans have put it at risk the past 3 weeks.
1,000%.
It's absolutely okay for us to just run these 5 back. And hopefully there's a change. Hopefully coaching gets better. But I know the struggles of being without a franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not want any of that to happen again. And all it takes is one hit. It really does.
100%.
And until this offensive line could drop their nuts and show me they can, then I'm going to go in thinking, man, they're going to get killed. CJ's going to get killed. But the fact of the matter is, bro, this is scary. This is alarming.
It is. I don't disagree with you. Let me ask you a question, though. If the Texans find a way to win the next 3 games of the season, how much are you going to care about the last 3 games?
I mean, if we win the next 3 games and the story's still the same, that this offensive line is horrible and he keeps on running for his life and he's just winning, overcoming these, then it's just the same way we've been talking the last 6, 7, 19 episodes.
Okay.
Is that this offensive is not good and we're relying on CJ Stroud to be magical.
First of all,
that's what I'm going to think if we win these 3 games.
I don't think they're going to win the next 3 games if the offensive line isn't better, first of all. That's why I keep saying they have to be better. Nobody's coming in to save, obviously the trade deadline's over now.
What's better than 46%? 42? 40? Hopefully.
Here's the deal, man. We saw, and now I'm talking about our ex too, because we saw last year, the first couple of weeks of the season, CJ was not protected well.
Bro.
He wasn't.
He was, and you saw.
I mean,
points.
the first 2 weeks of the season, he was sacked a lot, and then this offensive line figured it out. Now, unfortunately, it was not our starters that figured it out; it was a bunch of backups that figured it out. So all I'm saying is that tells me you paid these guys for a reason. they've got to be better. You have to demand that they be better. The problem is that you have limited options. You know, I mean, you're not going to pull Tunsil. You're probably not pulling Titus Howard because I don't think either of them have a replacement that's ready to go. Shaq Mason, maybe.
Should be gone.
Maybe if you get Okay, so if you get Patterson and Kendrick Green back, how confident would you be if all of a sudden Shaq? I mean, I don't know if they're going to pull Shaq Mason. He's making too much money, bro.
Look,
he's making too much money,
at
man.
all whatsoever. But you got to do something, bro. You got to do something. Don't just throw it out. And maybe that's why I'm so frustrated because nothing was done. Now, hopefully, we signed some of these practice squad guys to the active roster. You know, if we do get Leo Collins, who we brought in for a tryout, he's played guard, but all the way back when in his rookie year left guard. Then I could live with that because you made a move.
Take a look at somebody.
See other talent going for a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, a 7th round pick. You mean to tell me you couldn't find anyone for a 7th round pick? Anyone? Even if
those teams
garbage,
had cap space too.
Even if they're absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
It is something different than what you have. You saw what happened when Jared Patterson came in. You immediately put up 6, and then you put up a 98-yard drive the following week against New York. That's what a fresh breath of air does. And this entire offense needs it, dude. From Bobby Slowick losing his play calling duties, having Gerard Johnson get much more involved into the offense. If you have to bench whoever the hell is at left guard, if you have to bench Shaq Mason, you have to bench Juice Scruggs, then do it. Show me you want to make an effort, because everything you've shown me up to this point, up to this trade line, is that you didn't make a move. And you go out there, DeMeco, and you say, well, a lot of people like to highlight the bad plays. A lot of people like to highlight the bad games. But what about the good plays? What good plays? The one where CJ Stroud escapes pressure, is running to his, right, and just throws an amazing dot. However, it was there because of the pressure. Like, we're scared to call his offensive line ass. Remember, DeMeco a couple of weeks ago said all options were on the table.
DeMeco's not going to call them ass, bro.
Bro, but he said all options were on the table in regards to changes on the offense. And what did he say just a couple of days later? Everyone has a bad game. Everyone has bad plays. How come no one's talking about the good plays?
Listen, man, I can appreciate a coach who shows belief in the guys that he has. And this is my thing, man. Like, I think 10 weeks into the season, you can't put a period at the end of their sentence. And I think I said that last week. Now, at the end of this season, if the offensive line, nothing about the offensive line gets better, knock on wood, CJ still stays healthy. But if we get to the end of this season, and let's say you do win it, let's say you win 10 games like you did last season, pretty sure that's going to be a disappointment. If you get to the playoffs and you get bounced in the first round, or you win an ugly divisional game at home and then you get dominated, or you win a wild card game at home and you get dominated in the divisional round, then I'm gonna look at you, Ruben. I'm gonna say this season was a failure, man. And I would agree. Somebody needs to get on the chopping block. And I know right now in week 10, it feels like if things continue the way they are, that's exactly what's going to happen. But we just don't know. We don't know.
Got 17 games though, Nick. And then here's the thing, we say this, we've even said it. 4 weeks in, we're going to know what this team is, right? We cannot move the needle for this offensive line now that we're 9 weeks in. They haven't even showed us any signs of growth. They haven't even showed us any signs of, encouraging plays outside of week 1 against Indy. It's every week that they're struggling. So 9 weeks in, can they get better? I don't think so. Can they get worse? Absolutely. They're showing you. They are what they are. Like, the same way we're able to say this DeMeco Ryans defense is elite, no matter who's out there. Dude, we've seen Jalen Petrie get benched. We've seen Christian Harris get benched. Why is it not with the offense? Why don't we see that type of urgency the way we do on DeMeco Ryans defense?
Yeah. Well,
9 weeks in, bro, you are what you are, and this offensive line sucks. I think they're now 30th in terms of pass protection.
Yeah, no, this offensive line is nowhere near as deep as the Texans are on the defensive side of the ball, though. That's part of the problem. The identity of this team is defense. Unfortunately, they are a subpar offense. And we talked about this last week when we were doing the watch along. I think Tyler brought it up about how the trend in the NFL is that offensive-minded head coaches are the ones who have been successful. For some reason, these defensive coaches, unless they find someone who's an absolute genius on the offensive side of the ball to call their plays as an offensive coordinator, they just don't have a very long shelf life in this league. And he brought up, and I think you brought it up as well, the problem is when you have that good of an offensive coordinator, 9 times out of 10, he's leaving and he's becoming a head coach. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this team is taking on the identity of its head coach and its defense and run the ball. Is that going to be good enough to win you a Super Bowl? Only time will tell. Right now, it doesn't feel like it. And I understand everybody's frustration. But I think the only thing that the Houston Texans fans can bank on is you have to believe it can get better, because if it doesn't, then give up on the season now. Because if it doesn't get better, this is going to be the ugliest last 7 weeks of the season that the Houston Texans have had since they were only winning 2 games. My thing is I'm not ready to go there with this team yet, man. I believe in DeMeco Ryans as a leader. I believe that in every season, in every football season, you're faced with adversity that you have to overcome. And at the end of this season, if after week 16, 17, this is who the Texans are, then we can say, sorry, that wasn't good enough. I'm just not ready to go there yet.
It's not good enough now, bro. I'll go there. This line sucks. And there's like nothing anyone could say to defend it.
I'm not defending it. It has to be better. Do you think? Let me ask you a question.
No.
What was my question?
No.
What was my question?
No. This offensive line cannot get better.
Okay, so why are we doing this podcast, Ruben? Let's hang it up.
Oh, let's hang it up then, man, and I'll just do my shit by myself. I've been doing it for 5 years. I don't need
Twin Toros.
No
more
do it
Twin
exactly
Toros.
Myself. Nah. I'll just, I'll go back to 713 and do it myself. But I'll be lying to people. I'll be lying to people if I told them that this offensive line is okay. And I'll be lying to people if I tell them that I don't think this offensive line's good. I don't think if we're on ESPN or my pod or my show, dude.
No. I don't think it's good either. You and I both agree there. Like we're more on the same page than you think, man. It's just for me, I can't put a period on their season in week 10. Like, let's see what happens. I'm gonna be right there with you, bro. If this garbage keeps up, I'm gonna be right there with you. But we can't put the period at the end of their season right now. That's all I'm saying. They have there's no the offense. They have no choice, but I'm just saying there's no choice but to get better. If you don't, then this season's done for. You have to agree with that, right? If they don't get better, this season's done for.
Absolutely.
Okay, so neither of us wants that. That I know. Neither of us wants that to happen, and that's the reason why. Whether we were, like you said, whether you were here on ESPN, whether you're on 713 Houston Sports, you're gonna keep doing what you do, Ruben, because you love and you care about this team. And I know you're not giving up on them. You're just frustrated. And I'm with you, brother. There's a lot to be frustrated about. But there are some silver linings that you still got to look at, man. And that's the only reason I'm here for.
Tell me.
That's what I'm here for.
Tell me the silver linings.
You're 6-3. You're still winning your division. You're not gonna win. You're gonna win more than 2 games. You're on pace to win more than 10 games. And you're year 2 into this experiment, man. Let me say something. Andy Reid got hired by the Chiefs in 2013. He didn't win the Super Bowl till 2020. Like,
talking about one of the greatest offensive minds ever.
I'm just saying, like it's pretty rare to have. I know you had a situation where Jim Harbaugh came in, a 2-win team, and I think he took them to the NFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl immediately. Mm-hmm. That's super rare though. Like this team, the arrow is pointed up for this team. Are they going to win the Super Bowl this year? Probably not, bro. They're probably not, and that sucks. Would they be better fully healthy? Who knows? Do we want to see something happen with this offensive line? It's not going to be personnel, so now we got to point at the coaching. And if it continues for another 2 weeks and nobody gets fired, Ruben, I'm going to be right there with you, sounding the alarms that this team doesn't care that their franchise quarterback is getting the crap kicked out of him. Like, I'm on your side, Bubba. I promise you. I'm on your side, Bubba. I love it. And I knew you were going to be fired up today because you told me yesterday that if they don't make a move, you're going to be ready to, I won't say exactly what you said, but something to the effect of jump off a bridge. So, listen, man, I feel you, and I think a lot of the Texans fans are with you, and that's why they rock with you, Ruben. That's why they rock with 713 Houston Sports. That's why they rock with the Twin Toros because I think we balance each other out, man. I'm going to keep you from jumping off that ledge, and you keep it real with me. And I appreciate that, and that's what I love about you, Bubba. We're going to have a Lions preview game on Ruben's 713 Houston Sports channel. We will discuss that game in a little bit more detail. Hopefully Ruben won't be as angry as he is today. We'll have a couple of days to let this sink in.
Put my quarterback at risk, man.
Hopefully DeMeco Ryans doesn't say any more goofy things that makes Ruben even more upset. DeMeco Ryans has to say those things, man. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Like, he can't throw in the towel on this season. He knows this team has no choice but to get better. Now, DeMeco, what are you going to do to make this team get better? That's the question. Are you going to be able to make any tough decisions about your coaching staff? Are you going to be able to make tough decisions about your personnel? Look, man, he's got a 6-year deal as a head coach, but we know that these NFL contracts aren't worth the paper that they're written on. He's going to be who he is, and that will determine in a few years, were you a good head coach, DeMeco Ryans, or were you just meant to be a defensive coordinator? I still believe in him. I still believe he's a good leader of men, and I think he's the right guy for the job. But I mean, we're gonna see. I just don't want to put a period on him right now. But I do want to remind all of you who are watching here, number one, thank you guys so much for supporting this show. We're gonna be here, win, lose, or draw. I promised you that. Like I said, next week on Thursday, we will do a video on 713 Houston Sports. If you're not following that, please do. He's on X, IG, TikTok, and follow the YouTube channel. I'll make sure all of his links are in the description. You can follow me on the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast on YouTube. I'll be doing a new episode tomorrow, having much of this same discussion about the Houston Texans and our Houston Rockets, but you can find me on X and TikTok as well. I will leave all of my links in the description. Ruben, people have been rocking with us, whether we've been on your channel, on ESPN. I know it's been a tough couple of weeks, but I know you're appreciative of all of them. Is there anything you can say to the city of Houston to give them hope before we get out of here?
God help our quarterback.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, Ruben, I enjoyed doing the show with you, man. We did so many shows, man, where we were both on the same page and just agreeing with one another. I think people are going to dig this. Like, this is the same thing I said at the beginning of the show about our political beliefs. Listen, man, we don't have to all be on the same page and agree about everything. Here's the one thing that I know me and Ruben both care about. It's the Houston Texans. It's representing the H. It's about having pride in not only your team, but in the city that you rep. So we're going to continue to do what we do. We're going to see you guys on Thursday, and then we will see you next Tuesday after the Lions game on ESPN Houston, 7:30. But in the meantime, I want you guys to always stay 10 toes down for the H. I love you. Good night.